I lied to you. The horses are back. Giddy up, you're so luscious. Skip it up and that up. So I am going to be the voice of reason as defects come around for these consoles. When we went from the 7th gen to 8th gen, every time there was a defect, I acted like my hair was on fire. Now that's why I have no hair, true story. But I clutched my pearls anytime there was a defect with a console. But now, as more of an adult, I was already in my 30s at that point, I realized that, look, just because there's even a YouTube video with a compilation of 30 different defective Series X's or S's or 30 different defective PS5s or PS5 digital editions, there's millions of these consoles being sold. 30 of them is like this much out of them. But this one kind of hit home. And then there was another defect that a Twitter user actually brought up as well with his PlayStation 5, who showed video of a PS5 having graphical glitches, which usually means hardware failure, when someone was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. My editor is going to take over from here and show you the issues he had with his PlayStation 5. And then I'll show you the video from Velocity X on Twitter. It's disastrous, but again, everyone relax. It's a couple consoles. If there's a lot more issues, then it's a different story. Anyway, Jay, take it from here.
So here's the story of my PlayStation 5. I got it from Best Buy Canada. It was delivered on the day of release. I was super excited to get this thing set up and review it on my show, and oh, what a lovely time. So I set it up with my 4K television. Everything was normal. I turned the system on, went through the setup. Everything seemed fine. I started to download the new Spider-Man game, and I noticed there was this high-pitched sort of hum frequency coming from the system, and I thought I was hearing things, and I can equate it to those old televisions, you know, the giant big box ones. When I was a kid, I used to hear this frequency coming off of them, and I sort of heard the same frequency coming from my PlayStation 5. So then I started to think maybe there was an issue with, you know, the cables or something is going on. So I spent maybe a half an hour trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. First I thought it was the fan, then I thought it was some sort of electrical issue with the system. And at one point I just realized it was louder, and I realized that happened when I went into a game. So when I launched a game on the system, the sound got worse. And by all means, I don't mean to drag any of the companies through the dirt here. I think Sony handled this in the best way possible. I don't really blame the people at Sony I talked to. Obviously, I'm not saying that this is acceptable. This is actually a shit show, in my opinion, and I'm not very happy about the fact that I won't have a system for 3 weeks. But in saying that, Best Buy Canada, wow, I'll never shop with you again. I called Best Buy Canada, and they basically said to me, oh, sorry, we can't do anything. You can return your system for cash back, or you can call Sony. What do you want to do? And it's like, you didn't plan ahead. You don't have anything else to offer me? Nothing? Okay, I guess I'll okay. So luckily I have a good relationship with Sony. I do a review show on my channel, and I contacted my PR person in Canada, and they gave me a phone number to call, and I called Sony. The phone call took about 30 minutes of troubleshooting. Like, I told him I don't think this big boy has an eating disorder. I think he has an electrical issue, and he laughed on the phone. And I have to say, amazing customer support, even though I don't have a PlayStation 5 anymore that really works. I'm very afraid of turning it on because I've seen videos now of them literally shutting off and not turning back on. So it's super frustrating that I just don't have a system that is reliable. So the reason we wanted to do this video was not only because this is ridiculous, but I wanted to warn you people out there on what else happened with the system. One thing that happened was don't play games that are still installing. So I was installing Call of Duty And I played it. I played some of the zombie mode. As I was playing that, the system randomly, literally shut off. And okay, thanks, Sony. Great job. I tried to power the system back on with the controller, didn't connect to it. So I gotta get my lazy ass up and hit the power button, and it rebooted twice with no error messages. Wow. So in closing, I'm super frustrated. The system gets louder when I'm playing a game with this buzzing noise. It's super annoying. So I suggest this. Call Sony immediately if you get a system today or you got it yesterday and you notice this sort of high-pitched frequency coming out of it, sort of like a buzzing sound. It sounds like the disc is in there spinning at a high speed, but it isn't that. It's not the fan either. It's some sort of electrical issue. And usually when you hear sounds like this, the power goes out on everything you hear the sound on. I've experienced it in the past. I know what the sound is, and I'm almost 100% sure it's an electrical issue. So I wanted to come on here. I want to thank Rich for letting me come on here and basically tell you guys that I'm not happy, and I don't know what else to say other than I hope you guys really have a fun time with the system. If you do have it, it's an amazing experience. The controller's amazing. The games, I've had a lot of fun with them. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail here, but yeah, I really enjoyed the PlayStation 5. I just wish it showed up without the chance of exploding. Thanks, Sony.
And here is the footage of Twitter user VelocityX showing Assassin's Creed Valhalla playing on a PS5 with all kinds of glitches and artifacts on the screen. It means that there's a bad GPU, but it's strange. Take a look. Those circular artifacts are so weird. It looks like, you remember like if you watch an old film that was actually on film, and when they splice the film together, you see like the circles where the film is spliced together. I believe that's what it was for. It looks like that. I mean, obviously you see digital artifacts too. I'm watching the video again as I'm talking to you, but that's interesting, man. And he's saying that reports surfacing of potential GPU issues with PlayStation 5 may be due to yield issues on chips / overclocking. Now, if you remember, there was a huge story that came back where there was, I believe, a 50% yield rate with the PS5 SoC system on the chips, and then Sony came out and denied that, which I think is true, because if there was that much of a yield issue, the PlayStation 5 probably would have been delayed. But hopefully there isn't any truth to this. And, you know, this is just these, even with my editor, these defects are the exception, not the rule. Now, again, look, Joy-Con drift on the Nintendo Switch is a different story. Joy-Con drift finally hit me with my refurbished Nintendo Switch from GameStop, which one of these years I'll eventually make a video on. The console itself is fine, but the Joy-Cons have Joy-Con drift. Both of them have Joy-Con drift. I know people in real life, not just through the internet, that have issues with Joy-Con drift, and they're not even heavy users. That's a huge problem. That's a big deal. And Nintendo should have addressed that. There were people complaining about Joy-Con drift basically right after the Nintendo Switch was released. So that's a different story. But seeing consoles defective, even my editor's console, it hits a little more at home because it's my editor. Take it with a grain of salt at this point, because again, there is millions of these consoles sold, and even if there's 10,000 out of 5 million sold, which I'm not saying 5 million are sold yet, but you get my point, it's not that many. It's really not that many. So defective pieces of tech happen. When you have something mass produced, like I've said in other videos, you're going to have consoles that are defective because they come off the manufacturing line. There's also human error involved. So, these machines don't magically come together themselves. There's human beings that make the machines that puts them together. So they can make mistakes with how the machines put them together. There could have been engineering defects, which hopefully that's not the case, because at that point, that would be a recall that would need to happen. But everybody calm down right now. I know my editor's frustrated, understandably so. I would be pissed off too. But stuff happens, defective consoles happen, and we'll just have to see and wait and see how things play out. But right now, everybody relax. There's going to be defective pieces of hardware, and we can't freak out every time we see a next-gen console not working properly. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a Review Tech USA member. I'll have a link below in the description. I live stream now on this channel all the time, and it gives you access to cool emoticons to use as well while I live stream. Again, link below in the description. Thank you for your continued support.